Okay, so I'm going to do 3 videos on going a little bit deeper into the things that I talked about today on the webinar. They were breath, movement, and sleep, and why I think they're the most important ones. I'll give you some science and some evidence, but it'll make sense. Breath is the foundation of life. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there, you invest a lot into the nutrition, what you put into your body. And I've noticed this, like I have conversations with like I don't really care what your diet is, but I know a lot of people are very conscious of that. And I've had conversations with vegans and dietitians and whatever, but I can see them, like I can feel and see it in their own chest or their own torso, that they're not even breathing into the diaphragm. They're breathing into their chest the entire time, and it's shallow, and it's like the amount of energy that's invested into compared to into their breath is just poor, and so the amount of oxygen they get from breath is also poor. And it's like they invest so much time into their food, which is a very important way of bringing balance to the pH, like alkalining our body's ecosystem. But in my opinion, it's secondary, and it's the primary way of bringing balance to pH is breath. And so if you've got poor breath and very little oxygen in the body, because you're just breathing into the chest instead of the diaphragm and filling up every cell, you're not able to actually extract the extract the nutrients from the food that you're eating. So it's almost like it just washes through your body, and so you can have really good quality organic food, but if you're the same applies in agriculture. It's like if you can add fertilizers, but if the soil isn't oxygenated, the nutrients just wash through the soil. Yeah, so the first breath practice that I do when I wake up it's called box breathing. You can download the app. The voice is slightly annoying. You can turn it off, so it just kind of says breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold. And you can basically customize your own kind of level. Now I do this every morning. This is pretty much I'm not going to say every morning, 90% of the time, 95% of the time. I'll wake up and I'll do a 10-minute practice of, for me, it's 11 or 12 seconds, where I'm breathing in, holding, breathing out, holding, and it guides me through that, so I can just focus on my breath and not have to kind of use my mental thing. It's like I'm giving my monkey mind balls to juggle so that it doesn't throw fruit at me. And the box breathing is used by martial artists, military, and it's basically it's a way of it's, for me, the breath is a metaphor of how I live, and so I want to have a balance of inputs and output. But it's also I use that time. It'll vary for everyone, where it might be the hold on the in-breath or the out-breath, but you will have a stress response. Your amygdala will produce cortisol and some other stress hormones, and that's its way of saying breathe. It's like an alarm. Yeah. Most people, if they're lucky, have their amygdala as a co-pilot. Actually, some people have it as a co-pilot. Most people have it as their main pilot. And I use this breath as a way of basically training my nervous system to just say not shut the fuck up, but treat it as a monitor of my whole system self. So instead of having it as an alarm that says stress, and so you breathe, you're like, whoa, 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 chill, thanks for the information, Mr. Monitor of my amygdala, but I'm going to, I'm doing this exercise, and I know that I'm not going to die if I hold my breath for another 5 seconds. And so I'm training myself to just, communicate with it and understand how it communicates with me, but not react to it. So there's a lot in there as the box breathing, which is why it's the first thing that I do. Highly recommend that. The second practice that I do, again, like 80% of the time, but it's not every day, is the Wim Hof method that Dane put up a podcast on earlier. We talked about this 2.5 years ago. I practiced it. I became aware of it 2 weeks after or a week after I separated from my ex-wife, which was a really fucking heavy, difficult time. Shame, guilt, judgment, self-doubt, and whatever, and the opinions of other people, what they thought of me, being a failure. And I found this article on Wim Hof in this kind of like pseudo-scientific journal, or kind of like publication called Wake Up World, and I think a lot of their articles are full of shit, but that one stood out, and so I started practicing it, and just released, like vibrated out, a lot of stress, a lot of hormones, it just like basically heavy emotions, and I bumped out of that, like I bumped through that process like in a month, which maybe a bit longer, but it definitely helped me move through the heaviness of that time, and transition into the next phase of my life instead of like hanging around there too long. And so yeah, I teach that. You can download that, just like type in Wim Hof method, and it's just a non-dogmatic way of consciously breathing. And basically he talks about the science of how it allows you to hack into the autonomic processes of the body, the immune system, and basically produce a whole bunch of neurochemicals to get, like, not to get high, but they're all performance enhancing neurochemicals. I'll explain that a bit more in the movement stuff. Hopefully that's enough. Yeah. Basically, I would say invest daily into some breath practice. The box breathing is the most effective one. If you guys want to kind of like PM me, I can, whatever, or if there's more questions I can answer them, but hopefully this is enough. Yeah, ideally with the Wim Hof stuff, you also have cold showers. But yeah, just breathe. Basically, and once a month I do hyperbaric chamber, which is oxygen therapy. Like I'm basically just breathing in straight oxygen in a high pressurized chamber. And when I've been dealing with some heavy fucking challenges in my life, that it's like when I'm breathing in that space, it's almost like it's opening up a satellite connection with my fucking higher self. Like the insights that I have of experiences that I'm going through that just seemed really confusing. It's like it just activates this higher intelligence. But that's like, you don't need to do that. But just like basically breathing to your diaphragm. Yeah, like please. Hopefully this is juicy for you. Bye.